The Vancouver Canucks defeat the Calgary Flames 5-1 in their season opener. Let's talk about it. So welcome to the channel. Now I'm going to be posting this all on YouTube as well as TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, make sure to leave a like and follow for more. If you're on the YouTube channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. And so what we're going to be doing is the next day after the Canucks game, I'm going to be posting a review. As last year, I would do it the same night and I would get off at work at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it just didn't really make sense. So we're going to be doing it the day after. And so here we are on the Friday. So getting straight into it, this was the 30-year anniversary of the Canucks playing at Rogers Arena, previously known as General Motor Place. And so before the game, they had alumni from the 95-96 team, including Stan Smeel and Trevor Linden, doing the ceremonial face-off. And on top of that, they had a very good season opening video that also recapped the 30 years at Rogers Arena. It was really nice to set the tone for this game. Now, if we take a step back and just look at this game as simple as we can, Calgary is on the second half of a back-to-back, and they had to claw and scratch their way back into this game against the Edmonton Oilers, where they were down 3-0, and they came back and won in a shootout. So the Canucks should have the advantage here. And early on, it just didn't seem that way. It just seemed like a back-and-forth affair between two teams starting their season. Calgary trying their best to forecheck and get into the Canucks' end, and the Canucks breaking it out and getting some decent chances, but again, neither side getting those A-plus chances. Now, a couple of stories heading into tonight's game: Evander Kane playing his first game as a Vancouver Canuck, Braden Coots playing his first game in the NHL, his first professional game ever as an 18-year-old, and Jonathan Lekramaki also on that third line, looking to prove his worth as an NHL goal scorer. And one thing that I don't see a lot of people actually talking about heading into this game was the fact that Adam Foote was coaching his first game as an NHL head coach, and I feel like a lot of the pressure was on the players, or a lot of the narratives at least were surrounding the players and not Adam Foote, which was probably a good thing in retrospect, just looking at the kind of pressure that comes with being an NHL coach, because as you know, the leash is very short with these guys. But when it comes to somebody like Evander Kane, you have to expect him to take some questionable penalties. But what ended up happening is the Canucks took 4 minors in this game. All 4 of them were preventable, and none of them were Evander Kane, which is a little bit worrying for me, but at the same time, it's just the first game, so let's not, overreact or anything like that. Now, I like to think that I'm a positive person, but I do look at things and think that they're potentially a bad omen, and the first penalty that the Canucks take this season is a too many men on the ice penalty. That is a bad omen if I've ever seen one. So the Flames go to the power play, and honestly, they create some very, very good chances, but Thatcher Demko already back from his injury, showing why he's potentially a Vezina caliber goaltender. Matt Coronado from the goal line sends it across the blue paint to Nazem Kadri at the back post, and Thatcher Demko goes post to post and absolutely robs him on the goal line, and the Canucks get out of that penalty unscathed. So then the game gets very physical. Mackenzie Weegar hits Elias Pettersson in the shoulder. That was the principal point of contact, was the shoulder, but sends him headfirst into the boards. A very scary play. Elias Pettersson did leave the game, but he did end up coming back, so that was great to see. But they originally assessed it as a 5-minute major, and then they reviewed it, and they called it a 2-minute minor. So, in my opinion, I think that was the right call because the principal point of contact was the shoulder. However, it was a very dangerous play, so if it was called 5 minutes, I would also see why the refs would do that, but they called it 2 minutes, and honestly, they didn't do much. They had like one chance with Evander Kane, who had a shot towards the end of the power play, but again, couldn't really set up and couldn't really do too much. So then later on in the period, Elias Pettersson, DPD, goes for a hit along the boards, very similarly to Mackenzie Weegar on Elias Pettersson, but Elias Pettersson hits Connor Zary, and he hits him into the boards, and it's also assessed a 5-minute major. Now, in my opinion, this play was a lot more dangerous than the Mackenzie Weegar hit on Elias Pettersson, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough for me, in my opinion, to warrant a 5-minute major, so much more than the first hit that Mackenzie Weegar did. So they called it 2 minutes, and I think that was the right call. And then the Canucks were able to kill that penalty, and I'm just thinking about the amount of penalties that we took today that were avoidable. I'd say at least 3 out of the 4 minors were avoidable. We cannot do that going into Saturday's game against the Edmonton Oilers because they're probably going to score on at least half of those penalties. And with about 5 minutes to go in the first period, we get our first goal of the game. Mackenzie Weegar takes a shot that misses the net, and it ricochets all the way back to the blue line. And I don't know which Calgary player it was, but it ricochets to him. It gets into his feet, he bobbles it, and Kiefer Sherwood's able to knock it loose. Then Drew O'Connor gets the puck back to Kiefer Sherwood as he enters the zone and absolutely snipes it on Dustin Wolf to make it 1-0 Vancouver. Like I said in my season preview, we need Kiefer Sherwood to at least replicate his success last season physically, more so than his goal scoring. But the fact that he was the first goal scorer of the Canucks season is a very, very good sign. Because this Canucks team is going to have to score all throughout the lineup this season, it's not realistic to expect one line to really dominate this season. And so we have a lot of guys on each line that can provide goal scoring. And Kiefer Sherwood on the fourth line here with Drew O'Connor ends up scoring the first goal of the season. Now, the second period happens, and honestly, there's not a lot going on. It's, again, just two teams trying to grind it out, trying to find some sort of opening. Calgary had a couple of breakaways in this period, and Thatcher Demko was up to the task, again, showing why he is the Canucks' #1 goaltender. Now, again, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to Lankinen on Saturday, but Thatcher Demko, again, very unlucky today not to get the shutout, but we will get into that goal that Calgary scores later. But again, in the second period, just fighting back and forth between these two teams. And I really just want to talk about the second line tonight. Arshdeep Bains, Philip Hedl, and Connor Garland. Now, again, going into this season and the tail end of last season, Arshdeep Bains has been getting a lot of stick from Canucks fans saying that he's not good enough. And he had some pretty bad giveaways in this game. But he also did pretty good on the penalty kill. He put his body on the line game 1 of the regular season, and he put out some big boy blocks to help protect the net for the Canucks. And that's something you want to see from him. He needs some sort of identity on this team, whether that's penalty killing or if he can be a goal scorer or if he can forecheck. He just needs some sort of identity to keep him in the lineup. And blocking shots is going to be a very, very good way to do that. But like somebody said on Twitter, they actually responded to me saying that if you're going to be playing in the top 6, you cannot be doing this many turnovers. So I kind of agree with that. Connor Garland tonight was kind of quiet, but he was doing the things that you expect from Connor Garland, just getting into those gritty areas and being a nuisance for the other team while creating offense for his teammates. And he did that very well last night. And then going into the third period, it was the Philip Hedl show. He was unreal tonight, and a healthy Philip Hedl playing as the second line center can be a very, very dangerous player for this Vancouver Canucks team. So to start the third period, Adam Foote puts out the second line, and Philip Hedl immediately takes a penalty. And I don't know what the heck he was doing. He put his stick in between the Calgary player's legs, and the moment there was contact there and he couldn't get it out, he just goes down, and it was a penalty. It was a stupid penalty. The Calgary Flames then go to the power play. They don't make anything of it, and then Hedl comes out of the box. He's the only fresh player on the ice, and he's dancing in the offensive zone, just trying to look to create some offense. He cuts to the middle of the ice. He takes a shot. It gets blocked, but it gets deflected up into another Calgary player, Kevin Ball. It hits the back of his head. He then falls into Dustin Wolf. The puck falls back to Philip Hedl, who has an empty net to shoot at, and he scores. Now, this was just a super unfortunate play for the Calgary Flames because Kevin Ball, I mean, what is he supposed to do in that situation? He literally turned his head. He got hit in the back of the head, and then he fell into his goalie. The referee, it was such a split-second thing that he wasn't able to call the play dead. And so Philip Hedl scores, and by the law of the game, that goal stands. And so midway through the third period, this was the turning point of the game. It's 2-0 Vancouver at this point. Arshdeep Bains has an opportunity to clear the puck. He's unable to do so. The puck stays in the Canucks' end. Matt Coronado in the slot has a wide open shot. He shoots and he misses the net completely. He puts his hands up. I think he thought he scored. And the puck then ricochets to the half wall. Then Philip Hedl comes back on the back check, helps Arshdeep Bains out. He knocks the puck loose to Arshdeep Bains and then takes off into the neutral zone. Arshdeep Bains with a fantastic pass up the middle sends Philip Hedl through on goal, and he scores to make it 3-0 Vancouver. And that was such a huge swing because if Coronado scores, the game's 2-1. It's a 1-goal game with 11 minutes to go in the third period. But then Philip Hedl scores instead and makes it 3-0. So it's a very long road back for the Calgary Flames. So about 8 minutes to go in the third period here. It's 3-0 Vancouver. There were some coincidental penalties, so it was 4-4 for a little bit. And as the penalties are expiring to go back to 5-on-5, it's Connor Garland and Evander Kane out on the ice. Now, one of them should be a center, but those are both wingers. And who comes out onto the ice? It's Jonathan Lekramacky. So there's 3 wingers on the ice for Vancouver. I don't know how this ended up happening, but Connor Garland gets the puck to Evander Kane, who then slides it down to Jonathan Lekramacky, who scores on Dustin Wolf to make it 4-0. Again, in the Canucks season preview, I said Jonathan Lekramacky has an elite shot. He is an NHL player in my opinion. He just needs to be put in the best positions to succeed. And with somebody like Evander Kane and Braden Coots, who had an excellent game by the way, that third line can create offense. And if he can utilize his shot and become a potential 20 goal scorer in his full rookie season, that is going to be so good for Vancouver. Then about a minute later, the Calgary Flames keep the puck in the Vancouver zone. And there's about 3 bodies in front of Thatcher Demko, and Morgan Frost from the right half wall just spins and throws it towards the net low. It gets through, and it gets through Thatcher Demko to make it 4-1. And unfortunately, there goes the shutout for Demko. But other than that, he was excellent tonight. Now, up until this point in the game, every single line has made an impact except for the first line, at least in terms of goal scoring. The fourth line with Kiefer Sherwood's goal, the third line with Jonathan Lekramacky, the second line with the 2 Filipino goals. But Pettersson, DeBrusk, and Besser hadn't really done anything outstanding for this team offensively. They've just been solid. They were winning their line battles with Calgary's top line. And so we were just waiting for them to break out and get a real opportunity. I thought Pettersson had a very good two-way game today. But yeah, we want them to be goal scoring pretty much every single night. But it comes at the end of the game. 3 minutes to go. Pettersson drops to Brock Besser, who absolutely rips it on Dustin Wolf, and that's what we want to see from our Brock star. Because again, I project him as a 30, 35, 40 goal scorer this season, and getting the first one early for him is huge for his confidence because, again, we know with a lot of these guys that confidence is going to be the main driving factor in terms of how they can perform and getting those points, those goals. And so getting one, even though it was at the end of the game where it was quote unquote meaningless because the Canucks were going to win regardless, it still means something when your top goal scorer gets a goal and he just re-signed his new contract, and so he has nothing to worry about in terms of his future here in Vancouver. And so that would be it. The Canucks win 5-1. They win their home opener, their season opener against the Calgary Flames, and they're back at it again tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers. And before I end the video, I just want to talk about Braden Coots. I think the word to summarize his performance last night was just mature. He looked like an NHL player out there. He looked like he'd been in the league for multiple years. He was making these very good plays out of his defensive end, getting the puck up through the neutral zone, and he was just there all night being a factor. Now, I don't know what it's going to take for him to stay on the roster past his entry-level games, the 7 or 8 games that it takes for a rookie to burn a year on his contract. I don't know what it's going to take from him to impress Adam Foote enough, but this is a step in the right direction. Now, one person I haven't mentioned at all in this video is the captain, Quinn Hughes and Filip Hronek as well, that D-pairing line. They were quiet, like they were doing their job, but in terms of providing offense, like obviously Quinn Hughes was still creating in the offensive zone. It's not like he did nothing tonight, but in a 5-1 victory, 10 out of your 12 forwards pick up a point, and Quinn Hughes picks up 0 points. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card heading into last night's game. And so the fact that the Canucks were able to win without production from their captain, their best player, Quinn Hughes, is actually a very good sign because we know he is going to turn it up. And so the fact that we're able to win without the production from him is a very good sign in my opinion. But that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought of the game. And like always, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Peace.